If the opportunity came, I'm like, yeah, I'm taking a chunk out of it. I want a piece of that blade.
This is the last chance I'm going to get at designing a Hypershock for a toy, so it had to be perfect.
They knew that they couldn't really go weapon to weapon, so they went weapon to side of weapon.
We hit the jackpot in Vegas.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to a trip down memory lane on Outside of the Box, as today is the actual 2-year anniversary of the podcast. So I kind of went through all of the episodes that I've done and picked 20 episodes that I think were just really defining episodes for one reason or another. I did exclude the most recent episode with Hacksmith Industries just because it just came out, but obviously that was a very big, important episode in everything that I've done. So we're going to go all the way back to the very, very beginning because, of course, there's no show without episode number 1, and that was with Zach and Diana from Skorpios. I clipped just the very beginning, the intro of the whole thing, because I think when you start something, it's all about that starting point. And just simply doing an introduction, having these amazing people that Zach and Diana are on the show was one of the scariest things that I've ever done in my life, despite the fact that they're wonderful, nice, amazing people. And so just getting that first part out and continuing on with the rest of the interview was a victory. So please enjoy this short clip of that intro. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the inaugural episode of Outside of the Box. And I am happy to be joined by Zach Lytle and Diana Tarleson from Team Skorpios. Yay. So this next clip is from an episode that I particularly enjoyed and was just honored to be able to do something like that at that point in the podcast, because it was still pretty early days. And I got the opportunity to have Christian Carlberg and Jason Bardis on to talk about kind of the history of BattleBots and the evolution, specifically is what we talked about. And it was amazing to get to have two people who are so legendary in like STEM and combat robotics and hear those amazing stories. And it's still one of my favorite episodes to this day. So I really hope that you enjoy this clip. It's one of the many amazing stories that were told during that. And yeah, so just enjoy.
Was moving out to California, and I was going to stay with Jason, and we have a mutual friend, Phil Putman, who said, "Hey, you're going to be in California this summer. You should go check out this thing called Robot Wars up in San Francisco." So I did, immediately loved it, and started building for it. And this is 95 to 96. I wanted to compete in 96, couldn't get my stuff together, and so I need another year to finish a walking machine, 2 walking machines. And Jason and I were really good buddies from college, and so he also got involved, and we we both went to this competition, and what's the best part of this story, and I'm cutting right to the chase, is working late at night together on our robots, and so convinced that we were kicking ass building a great robots that we started looking at each other like, I've got to take care of Jason now. Jason look at my robot. Oh, I got to add a new attachment, new weapon to take care of his robot, because we were so convinced we were going to be in the finals together.
So this next clip was definitely an interesting one, because I couldn't have fathomed in like those first 20, 30 episodes that I would have Ray Billings on my show. And all things being honest, I was very intimidated initially, because I mean, like, Ray's robot's pretty scary. And I think, at times during the show, he's had this persona of being, the villain or the bad guy. But I have to say, after having Ray on my show several times, he's just a big teddy bear, and still a scary robot, very scary, would never want to face Tombstone in a box, but Ray's just a super nice guy, and I think this clip is very indicative of that. So check that out. I'm pretty sure every person who's ever been on my show has brought Tombstone up, so that just kind of tells you.
Was it good or bad? That's
Oh,
that's what I
no,
want.
no, it's
Okay.
all good. I mean, it's the usual stuff that you would expect. Everybody wants to fight Tombstone. That's just the way that it goes. So, yeah. So now we go to a clip of probably one of my favorite episodes that I've ever done, which was the judges episode with Derek, Lisa, and Jason. I have to say, this is one that I'm probably going to have to reprise at some point because it was just a blast. I don't know what I expected from this interview, but it exceeded all expectations that I could have possibly had. I mean, so entertaining, enjoyable, and just this was the first opportunity that I had to talk to Lisa. And Lisa is just such a hero to me in combat robotics and STEM that it was just amazing to get to have her. And then having, Jason and Derek there as well, who were just both phenomenal to chat with. It was an amazing time, and I'm so glad that I did it. And this was one of those clips that shows you the lovely effect of the chaos that was going on during this episode. And it was kind of a precursor to the later roundtables that I would have, just with a little bit fewer people, but still just amazing. So please enjoy this clip.
I'm going to start judging this interview.
I'm doing a poor job with control right now.
Okay. Okay. I too am doing a poor job with control. I already regret everything I've said.
Yeah, what sucks is that we can never do like even, I guess that's the whole point.
That's
but
that's the whole point.
Yeah.
Yeah, there we go. There we go.
Start over. Okay, go back 5 minutes. Oh, and this is the marker we used on the matrix.
Oh my God.
The dry erase marker.
Jason.
So next is probably one of the, again, a really big deal for me and a milestone is getting to finally have BattleBots co-creator Greg Munson on the show in early 2023 to talk about, what's next for BattleBots and everything. And this particular clip is towards the beginning of the interview, asking, like, it's one of those things, often at jobs you could ask, where do you see yourself in 5 years? And it's like, when you look at that retroactively, looking back, did you see, this happening? And in his case, like looking back all of the years from the Comedy Central days, did you see BattleBots still being around, being what it is today? And I loved the answer and everything. So I thought that it was a great clip to share, and just amazing to get to have Greg on the show talking about something that I and many of you love so much. When you started this, did you ever envision 20 plus years ago that you'd be here in 2023 about to launch a new season of BattleBots?
No, it's weird. So yeah, we were on in the late 90s, early 2000 on Comedy Central. We did like a pay-per-view before that. And then it died in 2002. And we were trying. Trey and I were pitching the show. I mean, every network, you name it. We pitched it probably twice, maybe 3 times, with different A-list or A-minus lists, showrunner type people. And it wasn't getting picked up, And I'll never forget what, we never had an agent, but for a brief period, we did have an agent at, I forget which one it was, WME or CAA or one of those ones. And the gentleman said, guys, when a show gets canceled, it usually takes about 10 years for it to get picked up again, for the nostalgia thing to cycle back. And Trey and I looked at him like, what? But he was right. So it took a while. But so to answer the question, yeah, we did. We thought it would come back because it's a cool sport. People dig it. It just it's sort of what it ran its course in the Comedy Central days. There's maybe too much boring type fights, and there was maybe too much storytelling with 4 weight classes all interweaved in 1 half-hour episode. It was hard to keep track. And Trey and I always knew, even back then, it was like, man, we should probably have 1 weight class and just tell 1 arc of a champion who's going to win the giant nut, not have 4 giant nuts. And and so we just kept trying. So we thought, yeah, we knew it was going to come back.
So the reason why this next clip is such a milestone for me is because everybody knows I am just like obsessed with Minotaur. I love that robot. I have ever since it came on the scene. There's so many reasons why I do. And getting to have Junior from Minotaur on the show and talking about it was amazing. But I think this clip just really demonstrates one of the big reasons why I love Minotaur, and that is because of driver Daniel Freitas. And to hear Junior talking about that level of passion that Daniel brings, and just like it's something even the team notices, his whole personality changes and everything. I think that just really demonstrates like like a big part of the reason why Minotaur is such a special robot for me, and why I root for that team every single year. So definitely an episode that was near and dear to my heart, but please check out Junior talking about Daniel and Minotaur. Minotaur has been around in BattleBots since 2016. That was when I first saw Minotaur, and really made a strong impression that year coming into BattleBots. I mean, I don't know that there was a match that season that I didn't just absolutely love. And I don't need to talk about every single one, but there definitely were a few that were highlights for me. Obviously, everybody knows the blacksmith match. I mean, that was it, just in the nastiest knockouts that BattleBots showed, and is the most viral BattleBots fight of all time. But it's funny because for me, as good as that match was, I actually really love the one against Bronco. And I think a big reason for that is because I think that match, more than like most that I can think of, really just showed like Daniel's level of intensity as a driver and just his surgical precision with how he drives that robot. That the whole match I'm like, is he going to get all 6 tires? And I don't think he would have been happy if he had not gotten all 6 tires. So
He told us before, I'm gonna get all the wheels.
Yeah, it's just like I think for me, that just kind of defines what kind of robot Minotaur is and what kind of driver Daniel is. I'm sure that you probably feel the same way.
Oh yeah, definitely. It is crazy because sometimes we feel like Daniel and Minotaur becomes like the same thing, like he's so intense like during the fights, and it actually started like way before the fight. We used to say like we have the like an hour Daniel preparation for fight. So he drinks like a bunch of energy drinks, and then yeah, he actually changed like totally his way, like even the way how he talked to us, it is totally different. It's kind of like a ritual, like before every fight, he's always doing the same thing. Seems
Yeah,
like it works.
So the next clip, as you can see, I'm representing. It's funny, there was a joke in this interview because I was wearing a Blip jersey at the time. I love both teams. I have both jerseys. It's all seems reasonable love here. But I'd gotten to do a couple of different interviews. This one in particular, though, having Aaron Hill on as well, was a real treat to talk about both robots. And This was, prior to the interview I did with the hacksmith, my most viewed video of all time. So it's clear people really love Seems Reasonable and want to hear, you know, what that team is up to. But this clip was an opportunity for me to insert a bad dad joke that I wanted to use so much after the Hydra fight, you know, Tantrum versus Hydra rematch. And I got the opportunity to do it. I'm glad that the Seems Reasonable team could appreciate that humor. But it was just a funny clip. Sorry, Jake. So please enjoy. I think I would be remiss if I didn't do a preview for the Hydra match and not talk about how, you know, now that we can talk about what actually happened, just to kind of get some thoughts on that, because it was absolutely a dominant performance by Tantrum. I was really excited to see it go down that way. And I just have to say that, you know, given the hydraulic fluid leaking, I think it would be fair to say that Hydra got dehydrated.
Yeah, Hydra got dehydrated. I was so sad that they didn't have a scene or like a shot of the puddle that apparently was there, because I actually never saw it. I didn't turn around after the interview and look at it, so they were already cleaning it up by the time we finished. So I was kind of bummed they didn't have a nice puddle shot, but that's okay, because we went outside, and when we were doing a damage assessment afterwards, they also didn't use this footage, but it was Hydra on its stand, and you could just see drip, 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 drip. There's a constant drip for like probably like 20 minutes of hydraulic fluid.
So you probably have been watching through this and wondering, where's a clip of Ashley? Because of course I had to include one. And the reason is because while this clip is not from the first episode that I ever did with Ashley, I think of any that we had done, probably aside from the Boxy Awards, I think this clip from this particular episode really is a testament to our friendship and how alike we are, because we decided to both wear Ripperoni shirts for this particular segment, and also it gave us a chance to shout out the show's current sponsor, robotsruinmylife.com. Always love to have the opportunity to do that. So thank you, Tony, for making awesome merch. Thank you for Ripperoni for being an awesome robot. And thank you, Ashley, for being the best co-host that I could have ever asked for. So please check out this clip. And speaking of Omega Team, just in case anybody who's watching the YouTube stream is wondering, yes, Ashley and I are absolutely wearing the same Ripperoni shirt. So
yes.
It may have been
robotsruinmylife.com.
exactly.
All the Omega gears there. It's super freaking comfortable. We are loving it. Yes. All day.
This may have been slightly planned in advance, but you know.
Only like 20 minutes.
Only like 20 minutes. Yeah. Yeah. So the next one, it was from May of 2023, and anybody that's followed my building and competing experience closely knows why that was significant. I didn't have a host or a co-host on the show with me. It was just, you know, me chatting and everything, and you know, it was really because I wanted to give a competitor experience from like first time at Norwalk. And that was my first time at Norwalk. Did not build the robot that I was driving at all. But I always will be extremely thankful to David, Jen, and Lucy Dew for even offering. You know, at that point, I had not really thought about building or competing at all, because it's just, it's not something that's normally in my wheelhouse. It's not something that I thought that I could do. But when somebody offers you an opportunity to drive a robot, you should say yes. So I got that opportunity, you know, went into it, I think, and came out with a completely different perspective. NHRL like is awesome, awesome production, awesome entertainment value, everything. So I don't think I was surprised by any of that, but I was really surprised, even being a competitive person, that I, you know, would go in and, you know, like I thought I would just do a match or two and I'd be like, oh, okay, like it was fun, I lost, but I had a good experience, and just that's it. But the problem was is that I kept winning, and that is not something that I expected or thought was even a possibility. So I you know, wanted to share this clip of me talking about, and then video from what, you know, I felt was probably my best match at that event, which was versus Mooncake. And Nathan is just a phenomenal builder through and through. So it was a real treat to get to face him in that that particular event, and it's something that I'll never forget. It was truly an amazing experience, so check it out. It's so funny because I went into this and I was like, you know, I just want to have fun, you know, see how I can drive, stuff like that. But after you get that first win, you know, I think something changes. It certainly did for me, where I was like, no, I actually want to win matches. I want to keep winning matches. This is you know, really cool, because I wasn't sure that I expected to win that first one. So I was really excited to have an opportunity to, you know, keep going and actually be in the bracket, which again, like that took a little while because all of the qualifying matches had to finish up before the bracket could be finalized. So I was really excited for that opportunity. And my first opponent in the bracket was Mooncake, which Nathan, the builder / driver, is just a wonderful person, like so enthusiastic about combat robotics. You know, got an opportunity to see his bot before the fight. You know, he came over and saw Naga, and you know, I felt a little bit bad because I think, you know, he knew that it probably wasn't the best matchup for his robot, being a ring spinner, and you know, Naga is a really powerful drum. So I'd be lying if I said I wasn't a little bit confident going into that, because you know, I knew that as long as I could drive well, and keep the, you know, the drum pointed at him, that I would probably be able to get through that match. And as you'll see in the fight, you know, I got Mooncake flipped quite a few times, was able to get those hits in. And, you know, Nathan was so gracious after the fight. You know, he came over, gave me a little bit off of his robot, which was really cool. So I will treasure that forever. And, you know, I really feel like this was my best fight. I was able to do everything that I wanted to do. It did go to a judge's decision. So again, like, kudos to his building ability to withstand, you know, all of those hits and stuff like that and keep going until the end. But just a fantastic fight. So, you know, I hope everybody enjoys this one.
Oh, well, we have been summoned to cage 6 here. Moonfight and Naga.
Mooncake, I believe, is the round white one?
Yes, yes.
Naga being the blue drum?
Now, Mooncake is an interesting robot. It's a ring spinner.
Okay.
Not the full shell does not spin, the entire body does not spin, but it's got this ring of kind of spinning death that comes around the outside of the robot. And unfortunately, going up against a drum like Naga, it's kind of a rough matchup.
Yeah, tossed like a coin.
Yeah.
Luckily with the ring spinner design, though, you do have invertibility.
Yes, oftentimes you can't get that, generally speaking, with the shell spinner.
Right.
But it works just fine with Mooncake. Now I want a Mooncake. Have you ever had like an actual?
I've only had a moon pie.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't know a lot about them, but they're, you know, really a nice treat. You should try one sometime. Anyhow, let's see. Aside, because apparently I'm hungry. Naga flipping Mooncake pretty well there. I think this, yes, the outside ring on Mooncake is just down for the count, so it is very much just a coin flip after coin flip. Oh, the weapon spinning up just a little bit.
That's good with the last 10 seconds. Let the judges know your weapon is still functioning.
I mean, it can be very important, but Naga really seems to have dominated this fight. I'm not expecting a big surprise coming from the judges on this one. And that is your match.
So I mentioned Ripperoni earlier, and I had Anna on the show before, but I mean, Federico Amore is such an integral part of Ripperoni, and I really felt like I had to bring Anna back on, who was a phenomenal guest, along with Fred, to talk about Ripperoni. And I think this clip just really demonstrates the fun and the humor and everything that team brings. And not only that, but I mean, they have a real killer robot. So love that team so much. Like, the robot's great, the team's great, and as I'm sure you will enjoy this clip. So here you go. And you managed to, you know, get them in the one place that they were vulnerable. And I mean, I just thought that was like some good driving there. But you know, I just want to hear about that one as well.
Absolutely, that one was all Fred. Targeted shots.
We had a lot of strategy meetings before most of these fights, except in game. I think our strategy was YOLO, and I think we executed that strategy pretty well. But for Copperhead, we knew we were never going to survive a weapon-to-weapon hit, no matter what happened. We know a lot about the ins and outs of that robot. We're super tight with Luke. I mean, we were with him at Motorama this year before any of this happened. Hell, I was getting a drink with him in Boulder, Colorado, right before I got on an airplane to fly to Las Vegas. Like, it was super tight. But we knew we were not going to win a weapon-to-weapon hit, so we just wanted to avoid that whenever possible. And yeah, we got that hit before we really thought we were going to get a chance to. So I was surprised. He was surprised. He was surprised. And then, yeah, that's pretty much it.
Okay, so this next one was a crazy one. You know, obviously, as everybody knows, at some point I decided to start doing roundtables, and one of those first times that I did a roundtable, although at the time I called it a takeover because in some ways that's what it was my interview with Team Stamina of NHRL. And I mean, I'm sure that most of the competitors on that team think that I walked away from that being like, I don't ever want to have a Team Stamina episode again. That was crazy. It was some of the most fun that I think I've ever had recording a show. Those teenagers have just an amazing level of passion. And I think like seeing that too at the most recent NHRL event, the April 20th event with Alexander Richmond winning, and you know, the rest of their team really having some victories of their own, you know, doing really well. They are just a force to be reckoned with, and they're a lot of fun. So enjoy this clip from the Team Stamina interview. Just much love to all those guys. So here you go.
And we all thought we were just such engineering masters. Like,
oh yes, like look at my new beautiful design. I'm sure to win battle bots with this one.
Yeah, I have a couple monstrosities somewhere.
Crunchy.
Johnny.
My turn. Okay. I'm Johnny.
No, you're not.
Oh, I guess I'm not. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm Lars.
Hi, Lars. I'm Johnny.
This is already just falling apart. We're not even
5 minutes in. I feel so bad.
Okay.
We
I'm
didn't even
Johnny.
make it that good.
I am the captain of Team Stamina, and basically, get anywhere. Basically, we were already all like builders, most of us in the community. So we kind of knew each other before we were a team. So then I was just like, guys, let's become Team Stamina. So we were all already friends before that, which is why we get along so well, and we all have the same immature humor, and you know,
it's stupid.
No, we're
it's
just
not
teenagers.
Yeah, we're all just a bunch of teenagers having fun.
So again, anybody that knows me pretty well knows that I had to include a clip from one of my interviews with Jameson Go. I've had, the pleasure of having him on my show multiple times, and this is from the second interview, not the first interview. Partly because during the first interview, I was probably freaking out in my brain the entire time because, he is such a phenomenal builder. And he's so humble, like I can't say enough good things. So it was really incredible for me to get to chat with him as one of the first interviews that I ever did. But the second one, getting to talk to him as a champion after he'd won the Giant Nut was just amazing. And I'm still just so happy for everyone on that team. Like, much love to that entire team, Eli, Alina, like everyone. Just Sawblaze is one of my favorite teams, period. And every JMO interview is an entertaining one, so please enjoy this clip.
Oh, well, I mean, it's man, it's so incredible to have won. I mean, at the base level, it's the Giant Nut. It's the big prize of BattleBots. It's, robot fighting immortality. Yeah, it's really solidifying your name up in the rafters with the banners, especially now. But even like it's just known for all of robot fighting history. Sawblaze is going to be one of the champions, and I think that's just super amazing feeling. But a point that you touched on, that what I think something that I've always talked about with basically anybody, and anybody who asks, how do I get started in something like this? It's the barrier to entry is pretty high these days. It's all about kind of jumping in, taking that risk, and continuing to improve. No one really starts out as the top robot ever, or the top anything. This is generally applicable for anything in life. You need to work hard, and you need to recognize those opportunities where you can do better. And instead of getting down on yourself about, man, I didn't win, or like I lost and it was silly, like you take that, you can say like, okay, you have your moment where I'm frustrated, and then you take that and say, how am I going to do better? You just do that much better every single time. And it takes a long time, right? For BattleBots, for us, Sawblaze has had 6 seasons. It took a long time. I mean, that's a long time to keep your head in the game and be thinking about continual improvement. I think there's probably lots of times, maybe even all the way back at the very first season we competed, where we could have said like, man, I'm so bummed, I don't want to do this, but you find it deep inside you to want to make that improvement. I think that's a common theme between myself and Jonathan as well, actually. So it's a really awesome final because of that.
Now, this next clip is from an interview with a fellow content creator, Seth Schaefer. And honestly, like for me to get the opportunity to interview Seth, who is such a beacon in this community and has done so much to get people into combat robotics. Like Seth has like a similar passion to what I do, except he actually knows how to build good robots. And I'm still working on it. It's a work in progress, but Seth is just an amazing person. I mean, to put like everything into a business to grow the community and to do something really positive for builders is amazing. So props to him. And this is a little clip of him talking about that.
Doing way too many things for a very long time now, basically. Essentially right now I just run my own company full time, Just Because Robotics, and that is my day job and my hobby, I guess, for the most part, which is kind of cool because it gives me an excuse to like go to all these events, because every time I go to an event I get to talk to people, and it gives me a chance to talk about like how I've been working hard to try and get more people into the sport, as well as being a time for me to actually compete and have fun and hang out with all my robot combat friends, which are most of my friends at this point.
So this next one was an extremely, extremely special one for me. when I started doing the roundtables, I knew immediately that I wanted to do a roundtable with all women, just because women in STEM is something that I'm very passionate about. And I think there needs to be, you know, continued visibility, grow that visibility so that, you know, little girls out there see STEM as an avenue and a path for them. And like, the people that I had on this panel were just phenomenal. Like, so much good information came out of this, so much good discussion. And this was one of those moments that I thought was really great, and a big reason why I wanted to do these roundtables the way I did in the first place. You know, towards the end of this, you'll see Keziah talking about, you know, getting into combat robotics, and mentioning like Lisa Winter, who was also on the roundtable as an inspiration. And this was a, you know, a really great opportunity for me to bring people at different levels of the sport together and give people that are a little bit newer an opportunity to meet and talk and like discuss with their heroes. And it was just like really special to be able to do that. And you'll see like a little exchange at the end between Keziah and Lisa, and it just melted my heart. So I really hope that you enjoy it as well. One of the things for me that I always reflect on is that, you know, I see so many young people getting into combat robotics. And when I was younger, it wasn't something that was ever on my radar because there weren't other girls doing that. You know, I kind of did what I thought everybody else was supposed to be doing. And so when I first started watching BattleBots in the Comedy Central days, and again, I feel like this whole episode, I'm going to put people on the spot, but I mean, like, Lisa was one of the first people that I saw on BattleBots, and I was like, wow, like she's doing this and this is so cool. And it was just it's really what like drew me into the sport in the first place. And I'm just curious, you know, for any of you, was there like that person or people that you saw that you were like, hey, this is a really cool thing, I want to do this? You know, I'll kind of shift around, and I'll start with Jenny actually this time.
Oh boy. So yeah, for me, it was Grant Imahara. Seeing him and all the Mythbusters that participated with BattleBots and combat robotics. He was a big, like watching him and what he did within engineering was a huge push to me want to go into engineering. Unfortunately, he actually died the first day at my first job, and I just cried at my desk because like he was a huge influence on me. Along with Andrea Galeli on Witch Doctor. It was a similar thing of seeing other women doing STEM. That was just something that I didn't see much growing up, and just seeing like, oh, okay, they're doing it. I can do it. I can do it. So it was really Andrea and Grant that were the two biggest people that were influences for me to actually go into engineering in general and combat robotics.
Very cool. Keziah.
Yeah, I mean, watching BattleBots when I was a kid, I would see Lisa competing. It's kind of crazy to be on a podcast with her now, to be honest. Yeah, it's great seeing other girls doing it, and I always loved Ziggo as a kid. I actually named my first hamster after Ziggo. Yeah, I don't know what more to say right now. I'm a little starstruck at the moment.
I love Ziggo too. It was so good.
So good.
So this next one is from an episode that I didn't even realize that the episode would be as important of a discussion as it was. It was more just a funny thing of thinking, well, everybody always says, you know, control bots and active weapons and, you know, all of this stuff. And it's like this big battle of like, are control bots relevant and, you know, everything. But it really turned into one of the best discussions that's ever happened on the show. And I credit that to the guests that I had on the show. Just really phenomenal people to be talking about these things. And, you know, shout out to, for this clip, Brandon, who is just like I could listen to Brandon talk about robots all day. He's so smart and he's so like intuitive of thinking about things the way that he does. And I think this episode really demonstrated that. There's some other discussion. If you get a chance, go back and watch it, because there's other discussion between Brandon and also James Cooper from Quantum that I think was so important, points to bring up and to think about. But enjoy this little clip of Brandon here.
On this side here, Fracas here in the blue and the black. So this actually fought Little Rip, the smaller version of Peroni. And I actually drove a pretty good match against them for about 2/3 of the match. But the problem was that as those jaws sort of tried to hold this big spinning mass, they got clipped. And over time, they got more and more twisted. So even though they actually did no damage to the main body of the robot, I still was gradually losing ground to them, even driving a pretty well game. And by the end of the match, they did a very good job of just tweaking the whole robot over, like particularly the jaws, because of that shot. And even though Little Rip doesn't have the same benefits of the Big Ripperoni, doesn't have the anti-gyro, nor really the fork game, it still had more than enough ability to, even on glancing hits, do massive damage. And so by the end of the match, even before I got knocked out, I sort of knew implicitly that I would not have a big it would be a very big pit to try to crawl out of because of that. Because even if I could keep driving this full match, I could probably keep it going if everything went right. I would still never win the damage points back. And as long as they kept getting some decent shots on the base of the body, I could still definitely take it out. And then on the other side, I have Phenomenon here, which you can see its forks directly above. And in those cases where Phenomenon has fought, it has done an excellent job of using the ground game and beating other spinners. Last year, in September Norwalk event, it fought against a machine called Other Disco. Other Disco is also a vertical spinner, but it didn't have the fork evolution that Phenomenon did. And that evolution I built into Phenomenon with the forks made it win against Disco handily both times they fought, without a question. It did an excellent job of getting right underneath its forks, flipping it up, and tossing it out. And both of those times, it was the adaptation taken from a control bot that led a vertical spinner to get the advantage over it. If these two ever fought, I'm pretty confident Phenomenon would win, if for no other reason than because all it would take is a little shot on Fracas's jaws to bend the whole thing, and Phenomenon could just winnow it down slowly and just take it out. Actually, the main thing going into the coming event, the August event coming up, is I'm trying to reinforce the jaws on Fracas. Its drivetrain is the same as Phenomenon. Its construction is very much the same, similar shape. It's primarily a saw blaze claw viper basis there. But the saw blaze part works great because Jameson understood that if you can have a control bot that can minimize its damage and give you the maximum ability to emphasize your control, your aggression on the other robot, you're doing good. But in the same way that Claw Viper's head got clipped against Mad Tatter, and it lost that ability to inflict its controlness on the other robot, it would just get eaten away. That's what happened to Fracas, like I said earlier. So then, like Zach was saying, if a control bot does figure it out, in this case, the drivetrain, you're automatically going to see a lot of deficit coming in, but it's going to immediately be equaled out. Like, I mean, James, you know as well, Hypershock's drivetrain is ridiculously fast as well. He just had a little bit of unlucky time in other places. But when it actually fought Claw Viper, it tore it up because its drivetrain is just as good. But it had forks and it had a vertical spinner and did its thing.
So this next one was another one of those roundtables where it was very much a meet your heroes, in an inspirational way. And I think even more so because on this particular episode about design and inspiration, I had both Will Bales of Hypershock as well as Kyle Cuffrey, who has specifically designed a very heavily inspired robot after Hypershock. And to have them both in the same discussion, especially with the topics that we were going over, I think was just so important and an amazing thing to be able to do. And here's a clip of Will talking about like people creating designs that are inspired by his robot. And I think just a lot of really good points and important things to think about when we talk about these topics. So please check this out and enjoy.
Like everybody else, this is a passion project. This is a hobby on steroids. So, we put our hearts and souls into what we're building. And I don't think I've ever personally encountered anybody taking an aspect of design or anything about one of the robots I built and turning it into a bad thing. I think it's awesome that people like Hypershock at all. All the bad decisions that had to take place in order to make it possible and for everyone to see it and everyone to enjoy it. That was the goal, was to make something fun to watch and fun to make. And so if other people get to enjoy and the joy of making it as well, then that's a win.
Okay, so this next one, I know y'all know like which robots are kind of up there with my favorites. And in general, I have just a ton of love for the UK like bots and teams. Team Monsoon, who is featured in this episode, being one of them. But this was my UK roundtable, where I had the Monsoon team. And so Joe Brown is one of my favorite roboteers in the UK. Like I love hearing Joe talk about like their events and kind of the way things go there. And just, he's someone that has so much passion for the sport. So I thought this was a really good clip kind of talking about that. And I mean, shout out to all those folks. Like, I'll have UK robots on this show all day. So I hope that you enjoy this clip as well.
Tension is awesome. And again, to quote Brandon, an American in the UK, because it's a good sample of one, but he said, because we had a big crowd at this brewery watching Brandon fight, when he dodged the pit and no, wait, I dodged the pit and he went in and he was gutted, but he was so happy because the crowd loved it. Maybe it's because America fell in the pit, but either way, it was a crowd favorite moment, and we love entertaining people. And at the end of the day, again, their robot's not written off. It might be damaged, but it's another way to get some violence, but not all the violence, which is what we need for live events to make it sustainable for people.
Okay, we're getting down to the wire with the 18th video here. But this was like a life's dream for me, to get the opportunity to interview Carrie Byron, who is one of my heroes, like bar none. Just I've loved to see Carrie on Mythbusters ever since way back in the beginning, as someone that I really looked up to. And I'm just like, wow, I really wish that I could be as smart as she is, because she's amazing. So to have the opportunity to interview her, and not only that, but like talk about something as important as the National STEM Challenge and what Explore Media is doing, was something that meant a lot to me. I got an opportunity to interview so many of these kids, and they're so smart. Like, I feel like way smarter than I'll ever be. And just the whole experience was a real like kickoff point for me to branch into more STEM-based things that aren't necessarily combat robotics, but still, I think, really important things to talk about. So please enjoy this clip of Carrie talking about what she does. One of my favorite things that I think I've ever seen is that how you call yourself a curiosity communicator. Like, I just love that term so much. And, what was it for you when you were, younger and first getting into this that made you want to get into STEM?
It was kind of an accident, because I grew up really wanting to be an artist. I really like being creative. I like taking an idea and creating something that is fostering creativity, and you end up with something tangible. I didn't understand when I was young that is science, so stuff like this really speaks to the 13-year-old me that thought art was the end all of curiosity. But I came a little late to STEM. When I was on Mythbusters, we were doing all of this experimenting, and the perfect narrative vehicle really was the scientific method. So all of a sudden we were doing these incredible projects, and we started being used in classrooms. as examples of critical thinking and physics and chemistry. And it blew my mind. I'm like, wait a minute, I'm doing science. I'm doing engineering. I'm doing all of these incredible things that I didn't understand. But once I got my hands dirty and created science the way I had always created art, just very experientially, that's when I understood, oh man, STEM is for everybody, even the arty kid that I used to be. So I really loved how Mythbusters was used in the classroom, and that's when I decided to kind of detour my life. That show's way long over, but I really wanted to take what I learned from that and put it into my current career. Now, Explore is the streaming platform that I'm a founder of with Ginny Bukos and Andrew Zimmern. You might know him from a million TV shows like What's Eating America, Bizarre Foods. We have an educational streaming service that creates under 10-minute videos that inspire and educate, but also come with standard aligned curriculum for the classroom. So we are kind of the perfect partners with the Department of Education to create a festival that's more accessible, because not only is it going to be that physical event in April, but we're also creating a year-long digital campaign so that these projects will be elevated. And a kid in Minnesota might have an idea that inspires a kid in New York or California or Hawaii or Alaska. We really just are creating a STEM community.
All right. So next we have a clip from my Champions Roundtable, which was another thing that was just so amazing to be able to do, to have so many giant nut winners in the same place talking about, that experience and kind of what the future holds for the giant nut and combat robotics and everything was just amazing. I think this is a really great clip to demonstrate the core of what came out of that recording, with Donald Hudson talking a little bit about, design and things like that on his end, and then JMO elaborating. Just really great episode. I'm so thrilled to have done it. Would love to do it again in the future, and I hope you enjoy.
I think what I would be saying to all the viewers out there that watch this and see all these guys build these robots, they love that they built it a certain way, and it's difficult that no one else can build it without it looking like theirs. Am I right?
Yeah.
Am I right? That is the highest honor, is that we innovated design, we put it on TV, and it has some kind of showing, and everybody likes it. Win or lose, I think that's for me what keeps me doing it. So that's my short answer.
I even got a name for it, and that they call mine tomb clones when you get all the ones where they look like mine.
That's good.
Tomb clones.
I don't want to talk about that part.
It's all right. It only hurts you when you have Happy Meals.
Well, I mean, I guess my most direct analogy, we Zach and I have agreed to just say we're different, and that's it. Because we have, Skorpios and Sawblaze exist on the same show at the same time. And then for the longest period of time, people would just confuse the two, even though they changed the color scheme. They changed their green-blue to be more blue-blue. And we stuck with our green and black, and people still confuse the two.
That's just because common audience doesn't, has trouble telling if one has a saw blade or a gas engine, right? Or anything. So, but I think your guys' robots are totally different.
Yes, I would agree.
Yeah. Different machines. Yeah. I also completely agree with that. And then finally here at number 20, we have the Proving Grounds episode, which was really one of my favorites to do to date. I loved doing a format of having multiple interviews and kind of segmenting them in one episode. I got a lot of amazing feedback from all of you on that, and that's definitely something that I want to try and do in the future, because I think it switches things up a little bit. So I'm so glad that you liked it. And then I have this clip from my interview with Trey, And I think that this is just, it was a significant one because so many people have said, you know, like, is BattleBots dead? It doesn't seem like it's coming back. And getting to hear from Trey himself how positive he feels about BattleBots coming back this year was just amazing as a fan. And to be able to let all of the other fans know that as well, so that they have something to look forward to. So please check this one out.
It's looking really good, and I'm very, very, very happy where things are going. That, you know, that's as much as I kind of want to say right now, because, you know, I don't want to jinx anything. There's a lot of, you know, hoops that we're still trying to fight through and figure out. The biggest one, you know, with Discovery is this strike is still not completely over. They're still apparently arguing over the money, you know, the money that they will get. And it's the way I understand it anyway. I could be totally wrong here, but over the money or something that they get from like the, you know, the Hulus of the world and the, you know, the Discovery Pluses and Maxes and all that. That part is not inked, and so they're not green lighting shows, as I understand it, until that's finalized or finished up. At least that's the way I understand it. So everybody is in the same boat, or a lot of us are still in the same boat. I would assume, but there's a lot of phone calls and talks lately with a lot of people, and things look really good. I would. If I can give anybody a word of wisdom, I would be building, because you know how these TV people go. Even though we tell them we need 6 months for the contestants, they, you know, they tell us when they want it, and either we take it or we don't. And you know, if we don't, then we potentially lose the option. So they're going to come to us. We want it, you know, in 3 months, you know, and then if you're not ready, you're not going to go. So, you know, I would be ready. I would come to Proving Grounds. I would come dial it in. There's a lot of opportunity to dial everything in and get there, especially if you want to win. And if you win, it's a lot easier to get sponsors, a lot easier to get that money that, you know, you need and want to carry this through. So, but it's good times right now. It's very exciting.
Well, I hope that you all enjoyed those clips. I know I did. It was great to go back and look at some of these episodes that have meant so much to me. And I want to be clear, even if there was an episode that wasn't highlighted in here, I am so thankful. And like every discussion with every person that has been on this show has been meaningful in some way or another. And I love you all for taking the time to come on the show and support what I'm doing, and you know, just being part of the combat robotics community. So thank you for that. I really am looking forward to what the rest of 2024 holds. I'm hoping to do more giveaways, have more really cool episodes, you know, all of that. Hopefully BattleBots does come back this year and I'll be able to bring lots more content from that. But in the meantime, just thank all of you for all of your support. You're amazing. And we'll see everybody next time on the show.